anyone else find themselves in a fake family? It seems that military operations worldwide set up these fake families to hold your typical spiritual schizo with Neanderthal genes, who also happens to get MK Ultra'd as a kid. I know my family is fake, and you can tell that these guys sold their souls because the spark of intelligence between me and my sister versus my mom and my dad is like night and day. It will never be something you can point out, because you're just going to end up in the mental hospital if you confront them about it. This is how I know I'm being raised inside an open-air facility, and I probably had a life with other parents before the MK Ultra wiped my memory. This is so dehumanizing, and even more dehumanizing is being in an echo chamber where you are constantly gaslit and people conveniently forget you said things so that the mirage can continue to keep rolling, but you know deep down something is not right. And everyone in your life is trying to steer you down certain paths or ignores problems other parents will care about but are left unresolved so that you stay an obedient little cattle. Think Tetsuya Davis's family, and it works great because these people can just be dismissed as schizo. But the real truth is these people like Tetsuya Davis, who you see as schizo, are schizo because they got MK Ultra'd, and they are living with parents hired by some service tasked with keeping spirituality out of the first world, with no memory of their life before the age of 10, where they had their original parents. I feel so dehumanized knowing everybody around me is a handler, and now that they know I know, they are still keeping up the facade, and the gaslighting and accusations of being a horrible person get worse and worse as you start pointing out all the contradictions and lies that they have lost track of over the years that don't match what they are saying now. Speak too loud about this kind of stuff, and you get closer and closer to the razor's edge of them dialing a hospital for ruining their act up. It's like the jig is up. They know that I know they're handling me, but the show must still go on, and they don't even show the slightest sign of guilt. But it is obvious because they get even more gaslighty and act less and less human, and they have to ignore when you stare them directly into their real soul because it really messes them up. So they double down in anxiety when you pierce through to lower these people's karmic debts through to the basement. Obviously, ask them questions all the time so they have to keep lying to you, damning themselves by virtue of continuing their job. But what else? Fuck these people. Fuck this world. I really hope I don't sound too schizo for X even. Come on, is this really that up there? You know this shit exists everywhere, and schizophrenia is the perfect solution to cover it up. The diagnosis for schizophrenia covers a description of these poor people's lives. It's like nobody is home in their minds. I bet the job description is just go into the fake setup home and watch TV, act like a bunch of NPCs, and be on call at all times during the day for emergencies. Have you ever truly talked to them and got to know them? Ask them about their childhoods, or how they feel about things that aren't schizo bullshit. A lot of people become too tired after a life of raising kids and being part of the rat race to want to do anything more than sit back and watch TV when they're home. They don't have the energy to make changes. It's sad, but that's why you should help your parents, bring them joy and light, and they will wake up and want to live more. It sounds like you are a condescending weirdo that feeds them nothing but disdainful vibes and talks about things that people with normal responsibilities have no time to give a shit about. No wonder they're closed off to you. Can you imagine busting your ass for 18 plus years to make sure a kid grows up healthy, but he ends up secretly resenting you and doesn't even see you as his parents? That's sad as shit, Anon. Please try to open your heart and reach out to them on their level. Intelligence difference is not an excuse either. Unless they are shitty people who try to harm you emotionally or physically, that's no reason to hate them. Yes, I feel like I just wasted 2 minutes reading your whole reply. My dad abused me, and my mom covers it up, gaslighting. They know everything. I don't care. Nothing about my life is even remotely true, and they are probably scared to make a move. I'm pissed off, but I'm gonna be a lot more pissed off if things change. The real answer to the Truman Show is to realize you hold the cards. Death? That will be my ticket out of this hellscape. The CIA is not in my province. Whatever the equivalent is operating where I live. I'm literally raised by them. Why wouldn't they know? My family is literally them. You don't think they report back to HQ? Yep. What do they even want with me? some new age Antichrist sleeper cell mascot shit, or just to contain me. I fail to see why I'm so important, and I wouldn't have had a bone to pick with them if they didn't ruin my life first. They are creating more problems by doing this. Should have just let me be a normie and not demolish my entire life history. Did you grow up ever thinking your real parents died and you got stuck with a fake family? Or did you grow up missing a parent and a fake family told you the missing parent died when you were too young to remember? The first step towards schizophrenia is believing that everyone around you is a fake. I can't think of any need for things like gang stalking, other than turning someone into a schizo when he realizes what is happening to him to throw him off the path to the truth. You should not believe such things if you want to keep your sanity okay. Trust me, I've been there. The first red flag that there is something inside of your head working against you is how arrogant you are. Your ego is really out of whack. You feel superior to others. I can't even imagine how much it must hurt them to see you call them fake. All they want is for you to be okay, and you haven't realized how you don't have everything figured out. You aren't in an open-air prison the way you are talking about it, no more than the rest of us. I hope for your sake and the sake of your family that you either get on meds or figure something out, because it is very sad to see happen over and over. Good luck. Yeah, just to reiterate, there is no arrogance in that post. The closest thing to arrogance there is saying he notices an intelligence difference between the kids in the house and the parents, and that is not arrogance, that's just noticing things. Being smarter than someone else is no different than being more awake. You don't call someone who has been awake and had their morning coffee arrogant for noticing that their family just got out of bed and is still sleepy, and there is really no difference. I'm an MK Ultra victim, and looking back at my life for the last decade or so, and seeing the ways in which people have been there primarily to interfere, digging up old repressed, traumatic memories from the first time I was vanned, is literally making me physically ill. I'm constantly on the verge of throwing up, breaking down and yelling at people I know, because of course, they will never understand. Then apologizing, only to break down and yell at them again. And the relationships I have are falling apart as the days go on, and I get called crazy more and more, and harassed online by people who know exactly what I'm thinking and doing, making snide comments on what little information they've collected about me. I'm cutting off the internet now, but fuck me, man. I feel so sick. I want this to stop. I want back my free will. Looking at celebrities who are being affected by this, like Britney Spears and Kanye West and Taylor Swift and shit, just makes me want to throw up even more. This world really is hell, isn't it? I'm a robot. I have no free will. Like a replicant from the movie Blade Runner. Blade Runner is literally just disclosure for this shit. I watched the movie Blade Runner, and it used to be my favorite movie. Now it just makes me have an existential crisis. My thoughts are literally an AI, a feedback loop, no self-control, no free will, nothing. I'm scared to see a doctor, because from the way this society is set up, that seems like a one-way ticket to being thrown in the loony bin, or made to take medications that will probably just make the situation worse. Police officers completely ignore me when I tell them about the problems I'm going through, even when I try to explain it in the most concise, rational way possible. Same goes with family members. It's like they're NPCs and incapable of understanding or have something in them that completely filters out what I say, when I try as rationally as I can to explain it. It's like a Truman Show nightmare. I know I don't have free will. That absolutely terrifies me. I've seen the feedback loop in effect. I've seen people pleased at the results they've created in me, and I flip-flop back and forth from thinking I can make it in life and I can do something I like, make life a journey that I like, only to come crashing back down and realize that that too was programmed into me, because whoever's doing it does a shit job at keeping it concealed that I am being controlled. For example, thoughts come into my head that don't match what I know about myself, because the people manipulating me don't have all the information about me. They make mistakes in programming that I'm aware of, but that's like a computer noting an error and spitting out an error code. I'm in a feedback loop. None of the shit I think or say is my volition. I'm one of their more aggressive targets that they take extra measures to control. The level of control makes me sick. It's all too much. A life without free will is not a life. The more you become aware, the more free you will gain. Everything is branches, and at some point, it is governed by the source, but this is not a one-way system. We have free will and a sense of freedom of choice. So too do I think there is a seed of chaos in us, just as there is a seed of chaos in the universe. This thing seems truly random or creative to me, which I would attribute to the most freedom. All that said, nature listens to you. It listens to all of us. It's an interplay between us and it. It will guide you along and set stages for you, and I think right there is an expression of our free will. The stage is set, but the outcome is not yet known. What happens on that stage alters the course. The thing we are part of then reorganizes, constantly reorganizing. In our day-to-day, we have freedom of choice, and this again is where the awareness comes into play. The more aware you are of self and environment, the more agency you have over self and environment. You are doing as you are intended, but you are also part of making up your own intention. Reality is not something to fear, but something to be played. Did I get MK Ultra'd? Did I get MK Ultra'd, or have I just lost my mind? XGF breaks up with me, calls me a narcissist, creep, and makes death threats about having someone kill me. Some time passes, all is normal. Intimidating tarot reading start popping up on my TikTok. Tells me there are people plotting against me, falsifying documents, diagnose me with MPD. Always the first content I see when I open the app. Tried making new accounts, deleting the app, nothing changes. See more tarot readings telling me there is a spy app on my phone and that there is a trained marksman on me. See 2 new can of lapped hunting stands in my hedgerow, think nothing of it. Night comes. I see my neighbor has their window wide open with the lights on. My neighbor's daughter is friends with X, so I think about the trained marksman and take out my camera and zoom in on the neighbor's window. It's a flat screen TV, playing XGF sex tapes. At this point I was convinced I was schizo. Turn off camera and watch TV. See black figure run up towards house. Wake up family, and dad said that there was nothing there. I notice a small bug bite on my hand with a collapsed vein and a bruise that was not there before. Think about the sniper in the bushes again. Arrive at hospital, transferred to psych ward. I take the pills and tell them what happened, and all was normal until the 3rd day. Optional group meeting held by a pastor that works there. I did not want to go, but another patient told me I would like to hear what he had to say. Pastor tells a story about a kid who had rage issues and did fraud, and the feds had been watching him for a few years, literally me. Patient nudges me and says he's talking about you. Shitting myself. Got out after 2 weeks, all is normal. Is this happening because my dad's a Freemason? Did I fuck a federal agent? Should also mention when I left the psych ward, the first TikToks I saw were about Munchausen's by proxy. The entire time at the ward I was on the phone, complaining about how I shouldn't be here, and how my dad exaggerated things in the ER to the nurses. In my case I think it was schizophrenia by proxy I also want to mention, I am not diagnosed with schizophrenia thankfully. That would have definitely screwed up my life. I've had experience with gang stalking. Had an old coworker follow me around for weeks prior to going to the hospital. He followed me the first time I left the house after getting out and asked me where I'd been while picking up 6. Welcome to the psych ward, where you have access to only a payphone, limited internet time, are given books about spy novels and being in the afterlife, and only get out if you do the club activities that harden your heart towards your fellow man and make you doubt everyone else in the facility is legit. If you somehow do get discharged, the lovely doctors will be there to remind you that if you don't see a psychiatrist, they expect to see you back in the psych ward in 2 years. Maybe the weird guy talking like a schizo is there to help you, or maybe he's just another glowy trying to ascertain the truth of why you were committed. He's cool, just like you. He takes illicit substances and has made mistakes. He wants to hear you talk about your mistakes, and talk you will, because no, you're not in prison. You're not in prison because prison sentences end. I met a glowy, or at least a guy who pretended to be one at the psych ward. He talked about working in cybersecurity, doing X-Files type shit. Whole time I was there, he gave me dirty looks and talked with the staff during smoke breaks. He talked about being part of a massive criminal organization and moving tons of cocaine. The last day at the group, he joked about getting a plane ticket far away and a new identity. He handed me his phone number on a coloring photo of a ripped-off rat head. It went to a fake name answering machine. Pretty sure my coworker has been brainwashed or replaced with a double or something. Work at an auto dealership. Coworker, we'll call him Dan. Keeps talking about how he's joined some new singles group or something. Never shuts up about group. They go on trips. They meet up. Describes everything as separated by age groups. Says singles go with singles of certain ages. Married couples with married couples of ages. Elders. Every fucking time he talks about elders and what the fuck they think. Slowly see my coworker stop doing normal stuff. We used to go get coffee on our lunches every day. Sometimes I buy, sometimes he buys. Coffee is an impure toxin and you should stop drinking it. Stops drinking soda too. He gives me a bunch of random stuff because he doesn't need it anymore. Sunglasses, some comic books, even a soda stream. Says his singles group needs people in my age bracket and I should really consider joining. He stopped swearing. In a little over a month, this dude has completely changed. He doesn't even comb his hair the same anymore, and he's losing a lot of weight very quickly. Keeps telling me that he and his new friends are all planning to move soon, and that we should join them before it's too late. Asks me stuff like if I ever get lonely or how things are with my family. Has started claiming that we shouldn't wear masks because it's impure, and that the fact that we take temps at work is stupid, and that he is protected. Tells me he feels like his soul has been refreshed. Dan tells me today at the end of our shift that he's going to be selling off all of his stuff soon, and that he and his new friends are moving into a gated community somewhere else. How messed up is my friend? And what the hell kind of cult shit is this? And is there even a chance of saving his ass? It's really unnerving, yo. Like we never hung out after work, but this shit is like a complete change. At one point, dude insisted that I go with him on some deep-sea fishing trip with him and a bunch of these single group peeps. Thankfully I used COVID precautions and stuff as an excuse, and his response, I shit you not, was, if you went with us, you would not live in fear. What kind of alien response is that? He has been enlightened and is trying to help you, son. Please heed his warnings and go with him. I have been enlightened as well, but I cannot speak of it for obvious reasons. It's a miracle he is able to speak of such things. Do it, son, before it's too late. Don't do it, OP. You are right to be cautious. I am 90% sure this guy is in a cult. Look for signs of sleep deprivation the next time you see him. Cults usually use sleep deprivation to make their subjects more impressionable. Raised by weird Masonic family that intentionally neglected me and performed covert, narcissistic abuse. Nothing I could ever prove. No memory of childhood. Supposedly experienced 2 decades, but only remember the latter one. Earliest memory is of an MK Ultra type scenario inside a dark camp van. The question is, what to do? I'm over these people. They can all go to hell. See if I care. But I have like this empty shell. A walking corpse with a disturbed mind. Not disabled enough to get disability, but not able to do anything with my life or enjoy things. When I'm at home, I just crash into depression and nothing feels fun. Everything you would enjoy is just sedative to me. I will carry this to the grave. Are there any practical solutions, or am I doomed to live life as victim of human trafficking in a first world country full of people who believe that everyone walking this soil is free? This life confuses me. I do not get it. Dear God, I understand none of this. I don't understand anything. I don't understand why these people consider me property. What is so special about me? Why has there been so much effort to ruin my life? If I was a slave, why was I let out? If I'm an unactivated sleeper, feels like it. Will God forgive me if they activate me and bad things happen? Why shouldn't I take my own life? I was born into a cult too, Scientology. You must take ownership of your present moment. Stop accepting negative thoughts. Revise them into positive ones. Practice mindfulness and seek wisdom. Look to your inner guide to find what you can do to cultivate a satisfying life and a good mindset. For me, it was weightlifting, finding a skilled trade job. I made $85,000 last year, on track to make more this year, getting a GF, and taking the self-improvement pill. It's the only way. Be me, 17 in the woods with friends up in the Big Bear Mountains of California. Went during winter break with a bunch of my senior friends. Was the last year I'd really see them, so this was kind of a small going away party thing. Mostly 6 people drinking in a cabin that one of my friend's dads was letting us use. I don't drink though, so this is how I know I was in my right mind, despite what happened that night. Everyone is shooting the shit, watching movies, eating, drinking, and pissing out in the snow. It's a pretty fun time, and I am glad I'm there. Around midnight, the first night, one of my friends goes AWOL. At first we think he's just fucked off to pee, but he ends up being gone for 25 minutes. We get worried. Wonder if he has passed out somewhere, hopefully not in the snow. Fucking on, have you seen him? We all spread out around the back porch with flashlights, trying to find him. After another 10 minutes we give up, think about calling the cops. While inside, we hear thumps on the roof, then taps on windows, followed by more thumping. Shit, it's a Sasquatch. Grabbed my Colt 1851 Navy from back. Was a gun enthusiast then, and I frequented K2. No way I was not bringing a gun for inner woods. What the fuck, Anon? Why do you have a gun? Comes the typical Californian response. They all shut the hell up when the thumping gets more violent. I pull the hammer back and push the sliding door to the side. I am freaking the hell out. As soon as I walk out, my idiot friend pounces on me from the roof. He was messing with us the entire time. Just a prank, bro. I almost shot you. He's laughing so goddamn hard, still drunk. All my other friends were sobered up from being scared shitless for an hour. They are as pissed as I am. We settled down that night, still rattled, but because of what he did, we let our guard down for the rest of the trip, and that was a mistake. It would become worse. A few hours pass. It's closer to 3 AM now. Half of us are passed out. It's just me, the dick, and another guy we'll call Kyle from here on out. Kyle and I are less pissed than we were a few hours ago, but Dick is still laughing his ass off. Lol, you pissed yourself, lol. Remind him I could have shot him. He just doesn't care, and we get to arguing a little. This idiot is really drunk by this point. He keeps saying, well, if you almost shot me, why don't you do it now? And keeps calling me a pussy. Kyle has to break us up. At this point, Dick goes to sleep. I'm just left with Kyle. He and I shoot the shit in the other room for an hour or so. It's around 4 AM now. While I was talking, Kyle just drops his tone and gets really wide-eyed. Kyle, what is it? Kyle says he heard another noise from outside. We both look out the small window. It was one of those windows that had that blurry kind of glass, like you'd find in a bathroom, and it was only 1x2 big. We could not really see anything but vague shapes in the dark. We all hear rustling from a few feet away. At this point, we are guessing it's an animal. All of a sudden, it rushes the window and bashes into it. All we made out was a black blur. Freak out and start swearing out Dick's name. We head into the living room so we can go outside and scream at the fucker, but when we get there, he is just sleeping. I wake him up, and we both say he's an idiot and that he needs to stop messing around. Has no clue what we are saying. The only reason we believe him is because it would have taken him forever to put on snow boots, a jacket, pants, run outside, scare us, and be back in his underwear and sleeping bag in less than 10 seconds. Kyle and I tell ourselves it was probably just an animal, but we are uneasy. The rest of the night we feel watched, still hearing scrambling noises at a distance. Next morning is normal, business as usual. Only 2 of us are hungover. Kyle and I are feeling shitty because we got very little sleep. We are all still talking about Dick and his antics from last night. Kyle and I are still racking our brains about the window incident. You know, Anon and I heard something in the office room. Fucking shit you did. Stop trying to fuck with us. Kyle gives up. Figures no one cares, and it might have been a raccoon or whatever. It's getting closer to nighttime, and the drinking has started again, only this time it's heavier. Everyone is drinking like a maniac, being loud, uncharacteristically loud. Kyle and I have only slept a few hours still. We can't stay asleep for some reason. The yelling and nonsense dies down, and it gets quiet for a moment. We all of a sudden get very uncomfortable, anxious. Then we hear it. A long humming noise, like a buzzing light, only at a lower tone. We actually do think it's a light somewhere that might be burning out. We talk for a little, and then we see that Kyle and Dick are fixed, staring at the screen door. On the ridge by the tree line is a black mass. It's oblong, and no one can see exactly what it is. We all start getting more nervous. How long has it been there? Is that a stump? Kyle and Dick say that they both just started staring outside, and it's been there for that long. We're getting panicky. I grab my gun again. Then it did something that made us shit ourselves. It began swaying back and forth slowly, at the same pace, and the humming inside got louder. We back off into the office room and say it could seriously just be a tree or something, and we'll check it out again in the morning. No one really slept that night. We are all super uncomfortable the next morning. We sleep more than the other night, so at least no one is tired, but no one is feeling all that chatty either. I refuse to have my gun leave my side, same with my knife. Friend whose dad owns the cabin grabs his pop's crossbow he kept in the cabinet, a few arrows too. He and I joke about werewolves, ghosts and shit, but we are both nervous. The rest of the group decides we have to go out and check the tree line, since we are armed. At this point, everyone is kind of nervously holding on to some weapon. We see alright. It's broad daylight after all. Once we get to the spot, we freeze our asses right there. Something just feels off, like we are not supposed to be there. Then we see the ground. There is just a black patch of dirt right where the snow should be, and it's dry. There is no way something could dig up the frozen dirt underneath and have it be dried out in the morning. There is no mass. We now assume it moved. You think it was an animal or not? I don't know, and we book it back to the cabin. The next night was our last, and convinced me that some things are out there that we cannot explain. The entire day, we are all pissed off at each other and scared. No one knows what is happening, and we are all easily agitated and angry. It's as if something wants us to be angry and irrational. We keep telling ourselves it's seriously nothing, but no one actually believes it. We watch movies until night. Between putting on another movie, I think it was Iron Man, we hear a loud bang from the back of the house. Everyone shoots up and grabs something heavy. Crossbow guy pulls his weapon up. I have my navy at the ready. The humming starts again, and gradually begins to get louder, higher pitched, just more violent. Then it becomes a shriek. As corny as it sounds, it definitely wasn't human, and it keeps getting louder and louder, until we hear it on all sides. Bumping is now bashing. It's on every wall, and outside every window. We are all shitting ourselves. Then it stops, and we all stay in place. We are staring at every corner, and frantically trying to find a way out. Dick begins to head towards the porch. What are you doing? He moves like he does not have control of himself. As he approaches the screen, we see something outside. It was a man-shaped thing with no eyes or hair, standing on two legs. Its skin was a mottled grey and looked wet to the touch, its body heaving inward and up as it drew breath. It had long, arching fingers that came to a slender point, but the worst was its mouth. It looked like it was torn and burned skin that had healed. No one moves at all. Dick opens the door and walks straight towards it. It wraps its thin fingers around him, pulls him down, and begins beating him and shrieking at the same time. Dick begins panicking. He's screaming in pain. No one else is moving, until Kyle grabs my gun and fires twice at the bipedal beast. It looks back and snarls, then grabs Dick and drags him as far as the tree line. I take my pistol back, and Kyle and I follow. We find him at the tree line, knocked out. Kyle must have struck it with the gun. A trail leading away from Dick led into the trees. It was a thick black film that looked like oil, and it smelled like rotting shit and food. We did not dare follow it. We left after that. No one talked to the other for the rest of the year. Dick started drinking more and doing drugs. No one even knows where he is right now.